Welcome to Live with Thrive, the podcast dedicated to empowering Black and Brown women who are navigating the complexities of balancing womanhood, motherhood, and career. I am your host, Dr. Allison Harris Welcher, creator of Thrive Life Coaching. In each episode, we dive into uplifting conversations with trailblazing women who share their transformative journeys and powerful strategies for thriving in every area of life. If you're juggling a demanding career, family responsibilities, or aiming for personal growth, this podcast provides the inspiration and actionable insights you need. Join us as we celebrate the strength, resilience, and achievements of everyday Black and Brown women just like you. Together, we'll explore how to not just survive, but truly thrive in every aspect of your journey. Welcome back to Live with Thrive. I am Dr. Allison Harris Welcher, and I'm so excited that you are joining me for today's episode. As you already know, this podcast is all about supporting Black and Brown women and making sure that we are not just surviving, but we are ready to thrive in every part of our lives: motherhood, womanhood, and career. Today, we are going to be talking about what it means to take care of yourself and how you can really show up fully as yourself. I'm so excited to have our guest today, Tia Marie Brumsted. She is the creator and powerhouse behind Sweet Bay Mental Health and Consulting, formerly Centered Self. Tia is a licensed therapist, a coach, a healing arts practitioner, and someone who doesn't just talk about growth, but she truly builds the systems for it and lives it. She's here to break down what it really means to rise with intention, how we think, how we feel, how we eat, move, rest, and relate, and how all of this shapes our mental health and our healing and our ability to thrive. So if you're tired of burnout, overthinking, and just doing the next thing, this episode is for you. Please help me welcome Tia Marie Brumsted to the stage. Hi, Tia.
Hi, Allison.
How are you today?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I am grateful. Filled with a lot of gratitude. I have so been waiting for this conversation. You and I had the chance to meet. Gosh, it feels definitely over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. You're going to push 3? 3 years ago.
3 years at this point, I think so.
And it was kind of a chance meeting. We are Spelman sisters, so we kind of just find each other. But we met outside of a Spelman connection, a very much professional connection, I should say. Do you want to share just a little bit about how we met?
Yes, it was such an amazing opportunity. It was a moment in my career where I think I was on year 3 of a complete pivot, very far away from mental health and COVID response and education and recovery and restoration after the pandemic, and being charged with and trusted with new big bodies of work. And I was like, this is great. And I'm down, but I also know when I need help. And a sister called in for some help, and another sister brought you to me. And so it was such a beautiful moment, and led to some really great work that I'm very proud of. So yes, so thank you.
Phenomenal work. And your leadership in that space just shined brightly. And when I was with you and your team, I could totally feel their commitment, their passion. And it was because of how you chose to show up in that space. And so want to give you your flowers now for the work that you did in that space. And you certainly left it off better. That team, the families, the students, better than when you arrived. So kudos to you.
You are so generous. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I want to jump right into this conversation, Tia. Many women are feeling exhausted, really trying to do it all. And I would love to know, what do you see most often as the real impact of that pressure, this idea of I can do it all, or even trying to do it all? What is the impact on mental and physical health?
Well, the body, child. Let me start there. I feel like our bodies are always telling us that we need to do better. And that is usually the first thing that I know I notice when I need a reset, and is often the first thing when I have people, especially Black and Brown women, come to our offices or to our well-being studio, or when I connect with them professionally in other spaces, that it is the body saying, hey, something's not right. We need to do better. You know, chronic stress has a significant impact on our bodies, whether we are recovering from physical or emotional trauma, or just living and working in spaces where we do not have psychological safety, where our bodies are constantly over responding. That can really trigger more significant conditions. So
got you. And when you say it shows up physically, can you give us some like really clear examples? Because I think sometimes we're like, oh, I'm just getting old, right? Like this is just a part of the process. But like,
or perimenopausal, or
yeah. But what are the things that you see in terms of physical signs?
Definitely. And both of those things are true. We are getting older, and we do have to understand how to take care of our bodies differently. We are perimenopausal or menopausal. So those things are also true, right? It's an and situation. So most often I find clients notice their experience with muscle tension and gastrointestinal. So stomach issues, bowel issues, or even within their esophagus. They may have acid reflux or heartburn, especially if they are stress eating, overconsumption of alcohol during really stressful times. Those are the things that people tend to notice first. But once we begin our practice and we get into mindfulness-based stress reduction through education on our physiology, our bodies, how our systems work, because that's really important to empower people with that type of information that we don't recall from our biology class in high school.
Right.
And then we get into practices such as breath work or movement that really promotes that mind-body connection. Then clients begin to recognize the impact of stress on their bodies and their nervous system, right? Not just their like muscular skeletal system where they're holding muscle tension, but they really start to understand that the hormonal shifts that come up from being stressed all the time lead us to feel heightened all the time. Our heart rates can be up, our blood pressure can be up. And with time, clients can begin to recognize their triggers and also learn strategies to how they can more quickly respond in their bodies. I also find that women tell me all the time that they feel they have lessened premenstrual symptoms, that their transitions every month into their cycle feel a little bit easier once they have been more consistently relaxing their muscles and practicing techniques. And I love too when clients, especially women, tell me that their sexual experiences are more pleasurable as well. They're relaxed, more going into it. Their minds are not racing in the same way. So all of these experiences we have. And then when people begin to do the work, really do the work intentionally, they recognize that they didn't even realize the impact stress was having on these other aspects of their life. And now that they get it, they're so much more empowered to maintain and sustain this work. So it's really exciting.
I love it. I'm excited, just hearing about just there is a way forward, right? Like there is a way that we don't have to live in this way of stress. But I'm curious, all that you shared is for a woman who's willing to acknowledge she needs to prioritize herself. But I'm wondering, how do systemic and societal expectations make it harder for Black and Brown women to actually put themselves first and say, I need to slow down, I need to get some help and figure this thing out?
Whew. So much to unpack there, Allison. I mean, I'll start with even just acknowledging that daily we are being hit with microaggressions in every direction, especially Black and Brown women who are excelling and exceeding in fields or in workplaces where there might not be many of us. Even when we understand and recognize what microaggressions are, we still have to work really hard to prevent that constant bombardment of negativity and the questioning of our self-worth or defending our value and our us deserving to be at that table. And all of these experiences have an impact on our self-worth. What I think often comes up, though, in my clients that look like us is also the desire and the need to break the cycles of I'll just do it, or I can do it by myself. I don't need any help. It's easier if I just do it on my own. Or the subconscious, I can take the suffering and pain. I'm just supposed to take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That surviving thinking, not thriving thinking, really really is what can change the game for women. For me personally, I was raised by an incredibly faithful and impactful women, from my mother, my grandmother, my godmother, all my play aunties. I had lots of play aunties. Mm-hmm. They are fabulous women, and I never observed them slowing down. Mm-hmm. I witnessed their greatness and all of their accomplishments. Yeah. I cannot recall what it looked like for them to take a beat, to rest, to take time away from us and all of the things they were doing to recharge and reflect, which meant that while I had the most amazing models for how to parent and succeed in my career, I didn't have a recipe for self-care that was passed down to me. Mac and cheese, yes. Self-care, no. And I have spent the better part of adulthood working to build my own recipe and model differently for my children and my nieces and nephews and young people that I'm around.
Absolutely. I love that, Tia. And, I can say I had the same experience, right? Seeing my mother, my grandmothers, women around me, it was a way in which they were expected to show up as mothers, right? As women, as workers. Like, let's acknowledge that, right? There was a transition in generations where like, actually women are working as well and not necessarily just staying home. And when I got to this stage of my life of being a mother, working full time, I'm like, wait a minute, I think I want to do this differently. Like, I'm not really sure how it should look, but this is not what I want to do. And so you talked about like doing it differently. And from your experience, how do we reclaim a sense of agency over our own lives when everything feels urgent, right? And there's these societal expectations and systemic pressures pressing upon us.
Yes. I mean, we have to prioritize self. Yeah. And that's not just embracing the concept, which is very pop culture, and rightfully so. I think during the pandemic, we all as humanity experienced loneliness and isolation in a way that as a collective, we have all not experienced before. And I think that brought a new perspective of wellness and particularly self-care to the forefront, which is great. But it's not just an Instagram reel. I do those reels, but it's not just a reel, right? It is truly a lifestyle commitment. And I fundamentally believe that lifestyle commitment begins mentally. It begins with us telling ourselves the same way that I bury into my kids about the importance of their own discipline. I have to tell myself that this is a requirement and something that I'm deserving of, right? It has to be a priority. And then physically, and that really begins with returning to the basics. And I will take this opportunity to make sure, Allison, you and I both are being held accountable, as well as all of our viewers. Have you had your annual well visit this year and your lab work? Have we scheduled our mammograms? Mm-hmm. Have we been to the dentist? Yes. All of these things, us holding time to make these appointments, keeping these appointments, knowing it's okay to step away for whatever's going on. That dumpster fire at work will be there when I get back with cleaner teeth, and I will feel better. I will like my smile better. So I need to do that, right? So beginning mentally, then physically, really taking charge of our health, getting back on track or staying on track. And then emotionally, taking time to assess what feels right and good for us. I often find too that women come to coaching or to therapy with a long list of things they've tried, and they've tried because they saw it online or their girlfriends talked about it and it sounded right. But sometimes jumping into a practice that someone else is doing and you don't know why you're also trying it, and then you also feel guilt and self-doubt, when it doesn't work for you, that's just another cycle.
Yeah.
So taking time to really think about what feels right and good for self, and then so forth. Then you get into it socially, spiritually, financially. Then you can walk yourself around the dimensions of health. But it's really about building a practice that you can adapt and sustain for your lifetime. And I like to say adapt and sustain, because what works for me today will not work for me in 2 years, or in 3 years, or may not work tomorrow. And the ability to be okay with that and adapt and then sustain the practice is what is key.
Yeah, yeah. So much of what you're saying, makes me think about how are we just taking stock of where we are, right? Like just acknowledging, like, it is what it is. Where am I at in this moment? And then what is it that my mind, my body, my soul, what do I need? And so, Tia, you often say how we think, feel, eat, move, rest, and relate all contribute to our mental health, healing, and growth. And so, how does that show up for women navigating heavy demands?
Yes. So that line is on my website. I feel like I've been saying that line for 15 years now, to myself as well, because I'm also always cultivating my own practice. But this is how I introduce a reflective planning process to clients, helping people to create that mind space for what does it mean to reflect on what's working, what's not working, and then identify what a practice looks like, sounds like, feels like for them. Because, again, it's different for each of us, and it might be different on different days, and that's also okay. But just moving through the day to day and just doing something because it looks cool, or that's what all the other moms on the block are doing, is not true self-care. It could be a great opening to trying new things and building relationships, but we should also be reflecting routinely about what is working and what's not working, and continuing to adapt in that process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Earlier you mentioned different techniques, strategies, breath work. And I'm curious, what are some other practical ways listeners can start integrating this into their daily lives without it feeling overwhelming? Because again, this whole do it all kind of mentality. And it's like one more thing. You've probably seen this on social media where it's like, I'm supposed to get 150 grams of protein, walk 30 minutes, drink, 2 gallons of water. And it's like, wait a minute, like, how do I do it all? But where could someone just start? Where's the starting place?
So I like to say begin with 15.
Okay.
This idea of 2 minutes a day and you can do this together in 15 minutes, or by the end of the day, you've hit this 15 minutes. Okay. So there's no pressure here, but 2 minutes a day of stillness to simply focus on your breath and practice intentionally relaxing your muscles. So many times, especially when I go support workplaces and people are in their office and we do this, and I say, when was the last time you can remember pausing at work? And people go, I never pause at work. I don't even pause in the bathroom. I'm still talking to my coworker through the stall. So 2 minutes a day of stillness, which can feel like a lot in the beginning, but just noticing. 10 minutes of your favorite dimension activity. So it should be something that's accessible and motivating, right? So prayer, 10 minutes of walking, coloring, cleaning, or gardening with some headphones on, because that favorite playlist is going to soothe your soul, and cleaning is moving. That's some physical movement. So 2 minutes of stillness, 10 minutes of some type of activity that's motivating, and then post activity, or at the end of the day, 3 minutes of stillness. To really notice, how do you feel now? What's the difference? And to make sure that you build that routine of sending a message to yourself, whether it is gratitude for yourself, it is commitment that you want to make for tomorrow, just a moment to be with self. So that 2-10-3 is a nice way where I like to have people begin. And I'm not telling you what to do in those times. I'm just giving you a little bit of structure, and it's just for you.
Yeah, I love that. I love a good formula. I love structure. And I'm like, I can do that, right?
You can do that.
2 minutes, right? Because if we're honest with ourselves, we spend 2, 10, 3 minutes scrolling, right?
Oh,
and so
easily.
Like, easily.
Easily 2 minutes when you wake up in the morning.
Right.
My legs get tight when I sleep. So I remember learning from a physical therapist to spell the alphabet with my feet as a great way to warm up my calves and my ankles. And I do it nice and slow. And so that 2 minutes is me still lying down. I'm still petting the dog because, yes, the dog is in bed with us, especially when it's cold, before I grab my phone.
Yeah.
And it's so easy. Or 2 minutes, I tell people all the time, I get in the garage and my kids know because my firstborn is especially an empath and he will come and hug and want to help me. And he'll know if I'm in the car or if I do this, he just closes the door because he's like, Mama needs a few moments to let go of what was happening before to be present for me. Like we've talked about it. When I do this and I'm sitting in the car, it is because when I walk in, I haven't seen you since this morning. I want to be present for you. I know you're
Yes.
ready to tell me all the tea. That's my other one. All the tea that happened at school today. But I need a second in order for me to be there for you. I need a moment. So again, that education, thinking about how we apply it to our relationships with other people,
Yeah.
how we let them know when we're ready and when we know what works for us,
Yeah.
all of that. It does not have to be a lot in the beginning. It really doesn't.
I love it. I love it. I love you sharing that. It's just so accessible and it's about helping others to understand I can show up better for you if I can take this moment and this time for myself. So, so important. Now, you named some very accessible things, right? Breathing, right? Spelling, the alphabet with your feet. But think it's also important for folks to hear about new methods. And so sound healing is something that, I've experienced once, and I'll be honest, I don't exactly still know like what it is and like what's the purpose. And so share with us just what are some other movement meditation and sound healing type supports that can really help build this mental clarity.
I love it. So I'll share a little bit about sound healing and some of the other offerings that we have here at Sweet Bay. In our well-being studio. So sound healing is actually not new. I think our awareness of it is new, and especially in areas that are outside of perhaps like New York and the California coast, where you might go online and you see these people with these beautiful setups on these mountains in California playing these instruments. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'll never have a shot like that online. That's fine. But sound healing uses specifically engineered and beautifully tuned instruments to help facilitate relaxation and healing states. We are about 60%-ish water. And we vibrate all the time. When the loud Mustang rolls by or when the train rolls by, we can feel those vibrations. And when we allow our bodies to be still and are surrounded by the power of sound healing, those sound vibrations can impact us in really meaningful ways without us not having to do a lot of work. And so it's a beautiful practice that I was first exposed to in about 2018, mostly virtually. And during the pandemic, when I was burning at both ends, I very quickly realized when I did my reflection, what I needed in that moment was to learn. I needed something that excited me to learn and not just be doing the same things all the time. So unfortunately, it had to be virtual, but I entered into a virtual sound healing training program. And then over time, had instruments shipped to the house and worked virtually with folks to improve my practice. And then one day, came outside about 4 years ago in 2021. I said, well, I've been doing these things via Zoom. Let's see if people want to do this in person. And I had 18 people come to the first event, and then we just never stopped. And when we opened Sweet Bay, we wanted to have a space where folks could work individually or in groups in a more therapeutic or coaching space.
Sure.
But also, even if you have that elsewhere or you feel like you don't need that right now, how do you just have a space that encourages this type of education,
Yes.
reflection, stillness? And so we offer weekly classes, different types of yoga, but also different types of just body strength-based movement
Right.
that is accessible for everyone. I mean, we don't have mirrors in our studio, and it's intentional to not have mirrors.
Yeah.
We want people to come in and really focus on how each movement feels right for them and to adjust with the support an instructor, and not worrying about perfection and what that looks like.
Right.
And it's really been nice to watch everything kick off these past few months, and having women come in who also go to the gym and they do CrossFit, but they're like, but I need to come to this class because this is what's missing. The stillness is what's missing. Or we've had some clients that are experiencing major weight loss changes, and they're like, I don't know how to move in this body. I need a space that feels safe. I don't look like all of the other women in this hot yoga class, right? I can't afford Lululemon, and the studio where I was has become about being cute and Instagram videos, and not about the practice and the traditions and honoring that culture. And so it's been exciting to really cultivate space that feels welcoming for people in different walks of life.
I love it. I love it. And really, it sounds like the Sweet Bay approach is really about building a system of support for individuals, no matter where they are on their journey. Like, what is it that you need right now in this moment? And I love that. Any other systems of support that you all provide at Sweet Bay that would be helpful for folks to know?
Yes. I mean, I think generally we begin with education, especially because we support a lot of professionals, either individually or through our workplace wellness consultation. And people show up in their intellectual self. That's just what's on all the time. That is what's dominating. So that's how they walk in here. So we like to meet people where they are. Let's give you something to chew on, right? Let's give you information about what's happening. Let's create a shared language around health and around emotions and our interactions with each other. That is often what's missing for folks. And we see that when we give a little bit of shared language and information, people can immediately think about how that applies in their workplace and their family and their partner, spouse partnerships. And then this education is partnered with practical strategies, the things that you can do. You can't take the sound healing with you all the time, but while we are doing a sound bath meditation, it is active, and we're teaching you a breath work exercise that you can take with you. And then this realistic and sustainable implementation plan, right? We are not selling a dream, and we're not selling a package that if it doesn't work for you, you feel like you've wasted your money. We are giving you space, dedicated space to really think about what's going to work for you and build that plan. That leads to trust. It leads to mindset shifts. It motivates people. And so it's the experience that you don't need to stay with us forever in the studio. Yes. But, if you're coming for therapy, you should not. There's a small amount of people in this world that really are struggling with true mental illness that's chronic and so intense that requires a lifelong weekly relationship. I just really believe that, that it is my job to advocate, to educate, and to empower people with strategies that they can implement when they're not with me, and not build this relationship that is dependent on what I have to offer physically here or during our virtual session together. I'm here as a partner in your wellness, and that's going to look different for everyone, but should feel accessible and attainable, and not require a decade for me to figure it out.
I love that. And it really sounds like self-sustaining, right? And if we're really honest, quite a bit of this might be some unlearning and relearning, right? So talk about just what a typical session might look like for someone who has felt burned out, who has these mindsets around, I have to do it all. And they're like, I know something is off, but I don't even know where to start. What does a session look like and feel like?
I love, Allison, how you said, what did you just said? Unlearning and relearning. I don't think I've even said those words around you as we've been talking about doing this, but those are words that we say a lot. And that's where the reflective process comes in. It is reflecting on a reaction, a thought pattern, a relationship. And why did I react that way? Why did those thoughts come in my head? Is that actually helpful for me when I respond that way? How many times have I responded that way before? And is that yielding the results that I want? So perhaps that's not working for me, right? Whether that be a behavior that's not getting us to where we want to be, professionally or how we respond to conflict in a relationship, right? It doesn't mean that the other person isn't also having to grow, but we can't control other people. We can't control our workplaces. We can only control how we feel inside and how we shift our thinking and how that impacts how we move through the day. That is what we can control. And that unlearning that we can control other people or that we should just keep fighting in the same way,
Yeah.
and not slowing down to really understand what's serving us. That is a lot of work that we do.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Well, we're coming toward the end of our time, and I'd love to just hear about, how you help women step boldly into their full potential, specifically Black and Brown women. We've talked about the many pressures, some of them historical, societal, systemic, but like, how can women really begin to like take that first step?
Again, spending time with yourself, prioritizing yourself, it feels intense and maybe even overwhelming at first. And it might invite some emotional responses that we often hide, that we feel like we have to hide. And so we don't even know how to be present with those feelings. But it is important to show up, for yourself. And if you're going to seek any type of coaching or therapeutic service, where you're partnering with someone, beginning that process centered in where you are in the moment, is the best first step, right? The rest we can figure out. The rest is a journey. The rest is a lifelong practice, right? You'll get there. But allowing yourself the moments to really just recognize and be aware, that's that mindfulness, just being aware, showing up in that moment with awareness and intention, without judgment, without seeking to understand. Just simple awareness and acknowledgement is so powerful. And so often we have to hide that. We are in environments that do not allow naturally for that to happen. And so when we take back that power and give ourselves those moments, that is the first step to stepping into our potential.
I love it. I love it. I often say slow down to speed up, but I've really been pushing myself to say slow down for the sake of slowing down. Yeah. Just slow down. Be
Just
aware.
slow down. Slow down.
For the purpose of slowing down. Such good insight, Tia. As we begin to wrap up, what final words of encouragement do you have for women who are feeling stretched too thin, overwhelmed, just kind of spiraling even, and are really trying to reclaim their power?
Yes. Take time for self. Do it with a smile. I love how you just said slow down and you had the biggest, most beautiful smile. That is, it may be outwardly, but it also then helps us reflect inward and give ourselves grace, give ourselves love and compassion. We can't ask the world to do that if we don't do it of ourselves. And that is the power that we have individually. That is the power that we have collectively. I feel like we do it well collectively. We walk down the street and we look at each other and yes, outfit, yes, this, and you and I smile at each other. But how do we also give that back to ourselves? That is, our inner self is our power.
I love it. I love it. Well, I know I'm leaving with 2-10-3. 2 minutes of stillness, 10 minutes of doing an activity that makes sense for me, whether that's journaling, prayer, movement, and then 3 minutes toward the end of the day, just reflecting on that. Really practical, easy to set up. We've got 15 minutes, ladies. We've got
15 minutes a day.
We got it. Tia, how can listeners connect with you if they want guidance, support, or if they want to visit Sweet Bay Consulting?
Yes. So we are physically located in Montgomery County, Maryland, and Gaithersburg. We just opened our physical location in August. We have weekly studio classes, as well as we provide therapy and coaching on site. So you can visit our website to learn about our work. If you are somewhere else in the country. I support workplaces. Our team does workplace consulting both in person and virtually. So that could look at providing moments of relaxation and skill building for teams, all the way to leadership coaching, leadership team coaching, and helping micro to mid-sized businesses really understand what a culture of wellness looks like and how they embed that into their agency mission. So we love to partner with workplaces as well. That also helps individuals. You can find me and our team online at Sweet Bay Mental Health on Instagram and on Facebook. And then I'm also on Insight Timer. I have a channel with guided meditations, and Insight Timer has expanded to a therapist hub now. So I'll be highlighting some different worksheets and support. So I'm out there on Insight Timer. I'm under My Centered Self as well.
Very good. Well, I love the support that you're providing and the work that you're doing. This is so important for just individuals overall, but particularly Black and Brown women, where we often feel like we have to do it all. So, Tia, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you so much for having me, Allison, and for creating such a lovely space for all of us to focus on ourselves and thrive.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining Live with Thrive today with Tia Marie Brumsted. Today was really all about recognizing the weight that we carry, particularly as Black and Brown women, and learning to step into our agency and reclaiming our energy. If today's conversation resonated with you at all, I encourage you to listen to it again, follow Sweet Bay Mental Health, but also follow thrivelifecoaching.co. I have these types of conversations often with special guests, and invite you to also share it with a friend or colleague who might need to hear it. Remember, thriving doesn't mean doing it all. It means listening to yourself, leaning into what matters, and taking intentional steps every day. Until next time, take care and keep thriving. Bye-bye.